There we go.
Oh, yeah, is that fun?
That's
What's up?
perfect. What's up, man?
How's it going? I'm good. How about you? I see you're wearing the stable hat. Is that stable?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to represent, man.
Yeah. Are you?
Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be the start to episode 27 of an Untold narrative.
Oh, nice.
Uh, I believe we have, and I might mispronounce it, but Ali Imam. Imam?
Ali Imam. Yeah.
Cool. He is an unbelievable photographer, videographer, head of content, to my understanding, over at Staple, or Staple Design, formerly now known as Read Art Department.
Yeah.
Uh, what else do you do? Does that cover it?
Yeah. I mean, basically, that's what I mean. Like, yeah. I mean, when I was first hired, I was just, considered like the head of content of, Staple Design. Just followed Jeff around, captured content for him, like, wherever he went, I was there, capturing all that stuff. And now I guess it's a bit different now because we're like in the situation, but now my role has changed a bit too. So it's like more like, planning shoots and like seeing how content can fit within like client work and stuff like that. So, and then I'm still like, capturing like archival stuff that Jeff has or that we've done and worked on. So yeah, it's still kind of, that's what I do. And then I like to do photography and, as a hobby in general. So I'm enthusiast in that. So yeah.
So we'll get into the Staple side of things a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I always like to start kind of going backwards, and like you're probably gonna have to toggle your brain memory a little bit. But like,
Yeah.
how do you, where are you from? Like originally, where did you go to college? If you went to
Oh
college,
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
did you like randomly gravitate towards photography? Like, how do you get into a craft like that?
Oh yeah, this is like very interesting. I feel like I had a quintessential New York story, kind of like So I'm my family is from Pakistan. Like I was the only person born in America. I grew up near Detroit. For most of my life, I moved around a lot, but I've lived in like three countries: England, Pakistan, and America.
Oh shit.
And
Okay.
yeah, but I mainly grew up in Michigan near Detroit. And then yeah, I guess it's like my background. I was like, it's like the son of immigrants and stuff like that. My dad's not like, we weren't like making money like that. So it's like I always had to like gravitate towards like doing good in school and like trying to get into a good college because that's what I thought, things would, lead me to better security and things like that. So but yeah, I went to University of Michigan. I studied economics and international studies, so I have nothing to do with art, whatever. But in high school, I took a lot of art classes. I had some art scholarships to like a local Detroit school, but I never went because again, like the security and stuff. So it's like that's my mind. As a 17-year-old kid, you don't know any better. So it's like, and then yeah, I graduated from the University of Michigan.
With an
I
economics degree?
with an economics degree. Yeah.
Did you like it? Like, or did you just
No, no,
do it
I
just
hated
because
it.
of the
I would,
immigrant factor of like you need an education?
yeah, kind of like, I mean, yeah, yeah, it's basically that. And then like, I always like gravitated towards like politics and like public policy, and that's kind of what I thought I wanted to do. And then like just like do art and music and whatever on the side. But then I graduated. I had a hard time like finding jobs, so I would just do like random internships and like random odd jobs. And then I was always like into music. And then this one summer, like I guess I feel like it's always heartbreak that like kind of changes you. So like I started like making music, producing beats,
Right
and I
after
got
college?
it was like end of college, beginning of like yeah, right after college. So like I was always like into beat making and like music, but like I never really did it like that. Um, and I started getting more into it because when I put out one song and then like people in Detroit started reaching out to me to make beats and like sing on their hooks and like things like that. And then one thing led to another. I met this musician, incredible musician, a friend of mine now, named Yuna. So she's worked with like Usher, like Pharrell, Tyler the Creator, and stuff like that. So I started, like I met her, and I was, still doing my creative stuff. I kept that relationship, and then we've interacted and stuff, and I started getting more into photography from like the people around me.
Did I secretly pull like who I thought was a photographer interview into like this unknown beat maker famously in the music industry?
No, I don't. I mean, no, I scrubbed everything from the internet. Like, it's just embarrassing. Like looking back, I'm like, wow, I could have. I didn't think I thought I was really cool back in the day, but looking back, it was just like kind of corny and like cheesy and like, I mean, I was decent, but I didn't have any tools. I didn't know what I was really doing. Um, but yeah, it's just like I transitioned from there. Um, I got a then I got like I interned in at Vox Media during one summer, and like I was already out of college, so it was like I just kind of wanted to switch careers because I was working kind of like as an analyst. At this, like I picked up a job as an analyst, like did some odd jobs in between, because I'm like I'm more creative than this. And
Did you get that job in Detroit or like in New York?
the Vox Media,
Yeah.
that was so that was in New York. That was my first time being in New York. I had
So
never
that's
really.
why you moved to the city.
I was there. I was here for the summer. And then I did a fellowship afterwards because I was still like, is it public policy? Is it something creative? And then, so I mean, New York summer was great. It was amazing. Like working at Vox Media, like I'm like, oh, I want to be a creative strategist. But like, I didn't really. Again, like I'm still like in my early 20s. I'm just like, I don't just going with the flow.
Wait,
Kind
how
of.
old are you?
I'm 28 now.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then yeah, and then I did a fellowship where I went to Pakistan for like 4 or 5 months to like get to like do an internship and then do in economic research and then also like learn the local language at a professional proficiency.
And you were getting paid?
Uh, yeah, I mean I didn't. Yeah, it was a fellowship. I didn't like pay for it. They were paying me. It was just like a 4 month thing. It was after my internship at Vox in
It
New
was
York.
kind of like a study abroad
Yeah,
situation.
kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
So I did that through it was like through Berkeley, so like they paid for everything and shit. Um,
You still have family over there?
I have some family, like not as much anymore, but I mean it's definitely like impacted how I look at stuff and like definitely impacted like my first like ventures into art and like even like sampling music from that region and like being able to try to sing or like mimic styles from that. Even like the color schemes that I like gravitate towards, or like the clothes that I wear, like they're very heavily influenced by my upbringing and like just being in South Asia, right? So um, yeah, that's kind of how it was. And then I didn't even have my own camera until the day before I left for that fellowship. So I picked up a camera. I'm like, oh, I'll spend like $500 on this camera. And like again, like I'm strapped for cash all the time, so it's like back then I was, yeah. Um, so it was like kind of a risk for me, and then I started taking pictures over there. People started
You were just,
noticing.
was
Huh?
the thought process like, oh, I'm doing this 4 months abroad, I should probably like document some of it, or were you just like
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. It's
always
like
curious
kind of
about
like document it, like for my own. I'm like, else am I gonna have this experience? Like, I should pretty much document it, like for my own records, and like if and I think like I could probably clear some mix. I think at the time I wanted to be like again like the public policy route. Like I think it's like there's some misconceptions on like how people are portrayed from there, like from that region, and like I think I just wanted to like it was around like it was 2016, so it was like very like um I think Trump had just been elected and like all these things had been like festering within like a whole thing. So I'm just like I want to portray another lens of what I perceive this culture and what I perceive myself to represent. So that's kind of how I looked at it. Um, yeah, so I picked up a camera. I went, started taking pictures. I put it on my Instagram a little bit. I don't have a pop in Instagram, but like I have, my friend Yuna. She started seeing that I had like decent pictures, and like other people would reach out to me and they're like, oh, when you come back, let's definitely take some pictures or whatever and like do photo shoots. So yeah, it started from there. And then I came back to Michigan, had some time here, had some time in Michigan, and then I eventually just moved to New York on a whim. I didn't have much money. I moved without a job. So I like,
Hold on.
yeah, yeah,
So you take these photos abroad.
yeah.
You get some traction through your friend. You're starting to do photo shoots. At this point, do you see it as like a career path, or are you still
I
doing it freelance?
I thought it was like freelance. Like I'm like, this is like a hobby that I need to get better at. Like I wasn't good at that time. I'm still like learning a lot. So it's like I didn't know it could be a viable thing. I was still trying to pursue like, like the policy like analyst type of route or whatever. And then like the Vox thing kind of changed my mind into like more like that kind of route where I could be creative and impact things in that sense. So yeah, then I come back from Pakistan to Michigan. I'm here for like a few months where I'm trying to like I just do like I was like doing a like what do you call it? Like I had like a few months where I was working for a nonprofit, and then it was like on a contract. So then after that ended, I'm like I should move to New York. I had like yeah, so then I just like kind of like yeah, I had like $1,200, and I'm like I just moved to New York, and that doesn't last
What
very long. Yeah.
what's that feeling like of you don't have anything built up just yet. You have a
Yep.
graduate degree, you did the study abroad thing, but there's nothing's concrete. It seems like
Yeah.
you're just at home where you grew up, or what you perceive as home.
Yeah.
What's that like? What goes through your mind when you're just like, you know what, I got to do something different?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I was always like of the mind like Michigan is like a very like stagnant place at times, and I was afraid of just being like another person in Michigan, like just not saying people aren't creative there and stuff like that, but I feel like it's hard to make it like it's hard to like do the things that you want to do in Michigan in like a small city like that. In Detroit, like I feel like I was like on the come up in Detroit, and I'm like it's I was like I felt like a medium sized fish in like a small pond.
Sure.
And like I'm like it's either New York or LA. Like New York's like not too far from Michigan. Like if anything fucks up, like if I can't do anything, like I can just come back to Michigan, whatever. Like it's not a big deal. Like, but I'm like I have to I have to take this risk. Like nobody like believes in me. I'm like nobody believes I'm gonna be able to like do this thing, right? So it's like I have to like take that risk myself and like believe in my own talent. And like I don't know any other like I don't know many creative people at the time. Like I knew Detroit people, and like I feel like I had some talent. Um,
That's so wild. Like, people who take risks like that is a serious risk. You're in
yeah,
your early 20s still, which is the time theoretically to take those risks because
yeah,
you have plenty of time in your future to figure it out.
yeah,
It still must have been like nerve-wracking, especially moving to an expensive city where you
yeah,
are
for sure. I mean,
surrounded by millions of
yeah,
people.
it made me. I mean, I became a pretty good saver after that. Yeah, and I'm like, I'll take any job, and like I'll try to make this photography thing work on the side. So like I moved to New York. I couldn't find a job for like a few months. I did like a bunch of interviews, like random places. I worked at a bookstore for a little bit, and then I got a job like as an analyst somewhere for like
What year was this, by the way?
this was 2017,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, I believe 2017. Yeah. 20 no, it might have been 2018. Sorry, I think it's
Okay, no, that's all
2018.
right.
Yeah. 2018. So it was not that long ago.
Yeah, this is fairly recent.
Yeah, like this is like in my mid 20s now. So I'm like, oh, like I need to figure some shit out. Mid 20s, yeah. And I got a job like within a couple months of me moving to New York. I was working at a bookstore and then like interviewing whatever. And then I got this analyst job. And like the crazy thing is like the week I was supposed to start at this job, it was like September 10th or something like that. It was during Paris Fashion Week, and my friend Yuna, she hit me up and she's like, "Hey, do you want to come to Paris Fashion Week with me to take pictures?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do that." So like
This is
I
a real thing.
yeah. She's like, yeah. I mean, it's just to like take pictures of her, like during like Fashion Week events and stuff like that. So
Sure.
uh, nothing crazy, but that's like kind of when I realized like, oh, like this could be like something legit, like, and like wanted to pursue that like ever since.
But did you have to front the cost to get to Paris?
No, so she covered that, like,
Oh,
but
okay.
I had to like
So it was a
I had to
job.
cover, huh?
It was like a job.
It was like basically a job. Yeah, I had like, yeah, I had no money. I had to, I mean, I borrowed money from my, I thought I had to buy stuff, but I really didn't. So like I borrowed money from like my brother and my sister and stuff, but I mean, I paid them back. It was like not that, it was like a few $100, but like,
Sure.
um, yeah, like that's kind of what happened. And then like I told Job, like, hey, I have this like wedding I have to go to, that I forgot to tell you guys about, like, or some family event that I had to tell you guys about, and then like they just like moved my start date, and that, yeah. So then I went to Paris, and like I'm like, wow, I can like I paid $500 for this camera. It's taking me like literally to a different country. Like it's it's like I'm like, this little thing can take me places that I didn't realize it could. Yeah. So and
So
then
what happened in Paris? Obviously, something good happened, right? So you fall in love with the art of it, and you're like, I could do this potentially as a career path. What happens after you get back?
yeah, so like I
You start that job or no?
yeah, I still had a job. I didn't work at it. I didn't even make it a year. I was there for like 10 months, and then I was introduced to Jeff, and that's when like things kind of changed.
How'd you get
Um,
introduced to him?
Again, my friend Yuna, she's applied.
Man, I got an interview with you then.
She literally, like, I tell her every time I see her, I'm like, you changed my life. Like, this is like you've done, like, you've taken risks on me and stuff, and like she's like a sister. Like she's looked out for me. She's like, so it's like, um yeah, she's like, she came into town, she's like, I'm doing like an album like promo thing, do you want to take pictures for me while I'm like at these things? So I took a couple of sick days off of work, went, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna meet my friend Jeff, do you want to come along, whatever? I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't know who Jeff was at this time.
Yeah.
So we had dinner on like, I'm like, I feel like I have like no relatively like no filter when I talk sometimes. So I mean, I'm just talking crazy. And like, I think I might have made like a good impression or something. I'm like, I'm interested in this. I'm pretty creative or whatever. Like I used to do music, things like that. Basically, what I'm telling you. Um, and then I just DM'd him, and I'm like, hey, it was nice to meet you. Thanks for dinner. I didn't
Totally.
expect anything. And then I'm like, if you ever have any projects, I like to like, we can like, I would love to connect with you on that. And then yeah, he's like, yeah, I have a couple things in mind. And then and then yeah, he hired me. So
Isn't it it's so amazing, and this is just so you're aware, and I know we really like don't know each other that well at all,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but the context of this podcast is to bring people on just like you, who
yeah,
aren't famous, who don't have a following, who are
yeah,
unknown but are super creative and do incredible work,
yeah,
that like don't have an area to share stories like this.
yeah,
And you'd be surprised how many people you can meet through the internet or through DMs who can change your life
yeah,
just
for
by
sure.
saying, hey, it was nice to meet you. If there's anything I could ever do for you, let me know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like that.
It goes a long way. I think just like treating people with kindness, and just like being like coming from a place of like admiration, and like trying to learn. Like I think that just takes you like a long way. So
Also, I
yeah,
think there must have been something of like you didn't necessarily know who he was, and I think then you could speak more freely and casually versus like I
yeah,
feel like sometimes you get put in a room next to somebody who you know, and you're like scared to say the wrong thing, and you end up
yeah.
screwing yourself that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I've been in rooms where it's like I get like nervous to speak, or like I'm just like, um I don't know, like I filter myself, or like I'm like, I don't know if I should speak, or like I'm just bashful. And it's like, at that point I don't think I was just like, oh, I'm doing something really cool, I'm playing hooky from work, and like I'm going to like, going to Apple Music headquarters, like going to like Paris Fashion Week, going to like New York Fashion Week events. It's like I didn't like, I thought I had some, like I was like feeling myself a little bit that day probably. So
Totally.
yeah.
So you obviously have that dinner. He's like, yeah, I got some projects. Did you guys start your relationship on a freelance basis, or was he like, I'll hire you and you quit your job?
Um it was I think he wanted to hire me as a freelance, but I'm not like I'm like I have a full-time job, I have like benefits and stuff. Like I do want to take that risk, but I'm like I just got here to New York. Like it hasn't even been a year, um, and I don't have all this stuff. And I would just like be more comfortable like full time. And then yeah, he's like that's fine. And then he hired me full time. And then like I traveled with him. Like my first day at work was in Toronto, so like I
In
wasn't.
Toronto?
Yeah, because we did like Jeff had an event there, so with one of our clients. So like my first day wasn't in New York; it was in Toronto. So I was like traveling straight away and stuff. So
That, I mean, it depends on who you are, but that sounds like an incredible opportunity, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah. People are like, you. I mean, I like looked him up afterwards, and like if we had mutual followers or whatever. I just reached out to the people. I'm like, do you know who Jeff is? Like, what do you know about him? Can you tell me more? And like, I felt like borderline like I was stalking him, but like, I just Googled him and things like that, and I'm like, oh, like this is like pretty cool what he does, and like it's legit, and it's like I didn't know it, like I didn't realize the impact that he had on like streetwear at that time. So like,
no,
yeah,
but I mean, I think you're doing your job essentially of like trying to contextualize what did I sign up for.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, this was in 2018 or 19 now?
Um, this is 2019. Yeah, we're in
Okay,
21.
so
Yeah,
like you've only been there a couple years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, if you're able to share, like, talk about, what role you played when you started, and then like kind of where you are today. Because like, I'll plug your website down below, and like it kind of talks about, or even if you Google your name, and
Yeah,
staple associated to it, it comes up as like photographer, videographer, head of content. Like
yeah,
all those things are a little bit different, but it might be all one position.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of what. Yeah, that's kind of what the thing is. I was hired like to. My title was head of content. I feel like it's just like like not arbitrary, but like it is a title. It's like I do manage the content besides like just Jeff stuff. I like like I'm seeing what we can do with client work and like things like that. But when I first started, it was mostly just literally traveling with Jeff. Like he was traveling a lot, capturing events, capturing the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, like it's basically that. Like any meetings that he had, compile that archival stuff. I'm shooting like his personal collection of shoes, like things like that. That's like basically what I started as, and then gradually like I'm moving more towards like like trying to come up with ideas for product shoots or like how can we like make this better on social media or like how do we manage that, and it's kind of like how what my work is like. Like when I started working with Jeff, his like social media was like I made him. I like I've helped him gain like a bunch of followers through just elevated content and stuff like that. So it's like um
Well, it's funny because even a little bit earlier in the conversation, you started talking about, how you're starting to, catch key conversations with clients that you can use and kind of take that content and repurpose it for a different platform or whatever,
yeah,
versus just taking photos is much different, right? Because you take
yeah,
those photos, you take some good shots, and you pass it on to somebody who does that. You're
yeah,
really got a 360 scope of it all, where you're not only taking the photos, the archive, the videos, but you're also creatively inserting ideas of, oh, we need to take this in this meeting, or this collection, and kind of connect it with that, and then tell that story.
yeah. I mean, I work closely with the creative team, so it's like the creative director is there and like art directors. So it's like we all talk about like the most recent shoe was like the rad merch stuff that we've like just released. So it's sorry, read art department merch that we just released. So it's like is a concept that I thought of and like we fleshed it out together. And it's like I'm like, oh, this could be a cool concept, showcasing whatever. Um, so it's like kind of like that now. And like I'm doing like I'm touching everything in terms of like editing, photo, and like video. I didn't really do much video until the job. But like it's like it is like seeing where it can fit onto like Instagram or social media, and it's like that's how it works nowadays in terms of like, and like, I sometimes it just like kills my creativity in that sense. I'm like, oh, this is like, because I like to create sometimes, and like not to showcase exactly in that way, but
Sure.
like you have to, I guess. So I don't know what your question exactly was, but
No, I was. I sometimes these conversations just
yeah,
happen and they just
yeah,
go, and
yeah,
I actually like it. I prefer it that way versus it just being a formal questionnaire.
yeah,
But it is amazing how much social has an impact on businesses, on creation,
yeah,
on content, and
yeah, for
but
sure.
it really sounds like you have a more creative job probably than I even imagined. Like having a hand in coming up with collections, like you said, the Read Art Department clothing.
I mean, I didn't make the collection, but I shot it and like I came up with the idea.
Well, right.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. I mean, yeah. It's. I think it's just like having a point of view, and like I'm trying to develop that point of view. I feel like in other companies and like other agencies, like you don't really have to have a point of view, and like people don't really ask you what you think, and I feel like here, like you're at this job, like my input is value, like it has some value, and like it's a small company, so like I wear different hats, and like I can like if I really want to like get an idea across, I have to like think about it and like present it and stuff like that. So it's like accessible. But that's something I hadn't really done up until now. So it's like I'm still getting used to it. Like nobody really I feel like as a photographer, people like just take a picture of that and that, and it's like you don't really think about it. So you're not like creative directing stuff as well. And I'm not saying I'm a creative director, but like I'm trying to develop like a point of view, and like I have that more now than I did before.
Yeah, I think all creatives definitely like that's the thing that sets us apart, right? It's having a point of view
Yeah.
against something else.
Yeah.
So you did mention it a little bit earlier as well. Talk about like being around celebrities because Jeff in his own regard is a famous person among sneakerheads and in the fashion world.
Yeah.
But like even you guys did a collection with Haan and Hasan Minhaj,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think you shot that as well.
Yeah, I saw some behind the scenes stuff, and like I was there for a few of the meetings that were in person before everything shut down. Yeah, I mean, by the time I was shooting Hasan, like I mean, the thing about Hasan is like for me, it's like as a South Asian person, like there's only like 10 famous brown people that are
Sure.
shown in media, and he's like one of them. And like he's like one of the people that I really wanted to work with, and I'm getting an opportunity to do that. Even I mean, even before that, I've like shot like when I first started working with Jeff, like my second week at work, I was shooting ASAP Rocky, like or not Rocky, sorry, ASAP Ferg. So I was
Oh,
just
right.
like, yeah, I'm like, what is like, I'm like, is this? That was like kind of like wild for me because I'm like coming into this like I just went to Toronto for my first day at work. I was, it was during the finals week too, so they had just won the NBA finals. So like Toronto was like crazy. I come back and I'm shooting ASAP Ferg, and it's like, what? Like, what am I doing? Like, and
Like
I
a
like,
year ago, you had $1,200 to your name.
yeah. I mean, at that, I mean, like, I had worked at the analyst job, but like, I had more money. But
Right.
like, when I first moved, yeah, like to New York, it was like $1,200. Yeah. So I was still living up in the Bronx. Like, it was cheap up there, so I like found a place there. Like, that's where I was living before.
Do
But
you,
yeah, I
do
mean,
you
working
still
with
pinch yourself?
what?
Do you still have to like pinch yourself every once in a while, being like, "This is my life"?
Yeah, I mean, it's like surreal because I'm like, I never in my like, I never thought like I could like do something about it, like something with like a creative platform, and like like I was an analyst. Like it's not, it's like complete opposite, and it's like none of my friends are really like growing up. It's like like South Asian community is like very like I had a lot of South Asian friends and like in college, and like I wasn't exposed to that many creative people. But I was like the creative one in my friend group, kind of. So and like I don't think anybody really thought I could like. I haven't said I don't think I've made it or anything by any means, but like I didn't think I could be doing this like as a full time job. Which and that still gets to me. Like I like even after like you mentioned the Hasan thing, like shooting that, I was like, wow, that's wild. Like I never thought like I could be working with a person that like I've seen I was like before the Hasan even got to the Daily Show, I was like at his stand-up comedy stuff. So it's like I knew about him because he was like that prevalent in like the South Asian community. Um, to like to see him go and like ascend to that, to have his own Netflix show, and like me like not at the same, like I mean like I didn't know I could do like work with him, and like I didn't think it was like reachable, but like it was. And I think it's like cool to be around people that can have that much impact. At the same time, I'm not like, I don't think I'm like, I don't get starstruck or whatever. I think initially I might have, but like not anymore. But it's really cool to work on projects that like have some sort of value besides just like outward superficial appearance. Like the Hasan project for me, like he's the first South Asian guy to have a shoe deal. Even if it is Haan, like Haan's cool. But I don't know if any of the brown guys that have a shoe deal, and that's cool to be on that project, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, do you ever think about, you know, with projects like that? I mean, not too many people can drop a line of like, oh yeah, my second week of work, I worked with ASAP Ferg, and then not 2 years later, I'm shooting Hasan, and like,
Yeah.
do you think about how that affects your work, or if it doesn't, then that's, I mean, that's tremendous too. Of like, millions of people are going to view this work, like it's got to be my best.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a bit of that. It was like I was getting a lot of attention from like people, and that kind of like I'm like, okay, like now this is like real. Like, I mean, I'm not getting attention. Like, I'm not like famous or anything, but like I was getting more attention, and like people that I had reached out to, like photographers and stuff that weren't like messing with me before, like started messing with me, and I'm like, that's fine. Like, I understand it. So it does put a little pressure on me, and like, especially with video. Like, I didn't do much video. I'm more of a, I was thinking more of a photographer first, and then video. Like, people don't do photography and video and like creative stuff. They just stick to like photography or video for the most part, I think. Or that's how I know most people do. But like I have to be interchangeable. And I have to yeah, I mean like it does put pressure on me, but it's also like I'm developing those skill sets, and like everybody knows that, and like it's just like a work in progress. But if millions of people are gonna see this, like sorry, I'm just like trying to organize.
It's a loaded question, dude. Like that's kind of why I asked it. Like it hit for those that don't know. I mean, definitely look up Hasan Minhaj. Like his cultural impact is, you know, relevance is tremendous, right? And like having the opportunity even at 28, you know, like and you talk about like quote unquote making it, like that's so like contextual to like who you are and where you're from, because like I think about it all the time. Like I grew up in a little town in Connecticut, and it's like the same thing you described Michigan of like, you know, I don't want to just be another person to keep growing up in Wolcott, Connecticut, because like there's a ceiling to that. And and like people will like, I'll talk to like people from back home, and they'll be like, oh, you have this really cool job, like you've made it, like, but like to me, like it's just the job of doing stuff I love. And I don't think I've reached that ceiling. Like I don't consider it making it. And I think it sounds like you're in the same boat.
Yeah, I don't think I'm there at all. Like I don't I haven't been doing photography or video for like years. I've just been doing it, you know, for a short time. So it's like I have room to grow, obviously, and like I think I have room to grow as a person too. So I mean, like, yeah, I mean, and like to be working on these projects and like just being able to be in the same rooms with like something that's impactful, or you know it's gonna make an impact. It's just it's cool to capture that and be in those rooms and like be at those events, and like people that you like just been being at events and like being like, oh, I've listened to that person's music. Like I used to like grow up on, you know, it's like things like that, and it's like that still gets me sometimes. But like I don't know, man. I'm just trying to do my best. I'm trying to like make the best stuff I can. Like I don't try to think about like where it could go, because it's like that's not my thing. Isn't like I'm very low key as a person, and like on my social media presence, it's not like, I don't know. I just like to create things, and like if I have that muscle, and like, and if people are getting work, that's awesome. That's amazing. But I feel like nowadays, yeah, it's like a bit different.
1000%. So, I mean, one of the questions I usually ask people on here is like, if they think about the future, like, do they have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, like a 2-year plan? It sounds like you're just like, I'm taking it day by day because I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, yeah, I mean, well, okay, like when I moved to New York, my intention was to be working in like a creative space eventually. So I mean, like it just happened sooner than I thought it would. Um, like there was like a lot of things I had to reconsider, and like I don't necessarily have like a 5-year like plan or like 10-year plan, but like I mean, like I do want I've been like setting more goals and stuff, and like trying to see like I want be more published and like things like that. So those are like some benchmarks that I have, and like I would want to be in magazines and like my work to be in there and stuff like that. So it's like I do have some goals in that sense, but like if I'm still in the creative field, still making things and like I'm getting better, like that's what I'm striving towards, and like develop my point of view, or like being able to like put people on, or like put other people around me that are creative, that have good work and like can do that. Like if I have the means to do it, I will. Like there's no reason like why I wouldn't. So I think it's just to stay creative, still have that same drive that I had when I first moved to New York. Not gonna lie, the pandemic has killed some of that, but like I think that's understandable.
Yeah, exactly. Talk
I think
about,
it's
so I would assume, and I spoke to Jeff, it must have been a month or two ago, and how it's like kind of affected Staple and stuff like that.
yeah.
How is it, like you just mentioned, how it affected, your creativity? Have you been trying to do other things outside of photography and kind of work in order to stay creative during this time? Or like, how has it affected you personally?
I mean, like it's like there were like days where I don't even go outside. Like like a couple of
Yeah.
days or like 3 days, and I don't even go outside. And it's like a lot of my creativity is like comes from like absorbing like the stuff around me, like new environments, and like being like, oh, I can take that and like try to like shoot it like this, or like and like I do a lot of portrait photography, so I'm not like clearly not seeing that many people. Um, what did what did Jeff really say about like how it's impacted his
Well, and the travel aspect, right? I mean, you're stuck at home. You have to, think about employees differently, right? Like, do we
yeah,
have
for sure.
the capacity if our sales go down and our clients aren't using our design services? How that affects, our
Yeah,
backlog essentially.
yeah. I mean, for me, it's like when this first started, I'm like, oh, I was traveling a lot. I was supposed to go like South Africa and like Australia and stuff, and like
Holy
that.
shit.
Yeah, like that was supposed to be 2020, and like that clearly didn't happen. But like, and like then it's like, how do these creative jobs work? And like all these photographers that I know they don't have work, and like all these creative people I like and initially don't have work, and it's like I'm like one of the only people that I know that still like had a job throughout all of this, and I'm like,
Well,
this could go at any time. I don't really know, and that's kind of stressful for me to like think about, because it took me so hard, like long and hard to like get here. So it's like, um,
was
like
that ever like a real concern, of Staple, of like, maybe I'll be out of a job like during this?
I mean, I don't know how much I can say, but like I mean, like we did pretty like well during this year, but like initially, like there were like like we're
Well, it was the uncertainty of it all,
yeah,
right?
it was the uncertainty of it. Yeah, so it's like just like not knowing that like puts, and I don't think you can create under like I don't know about you, but I can't really create like when I'm like stressed out. Like I'm not thinking about, I'm just trying to live, and I'm trying to like how do I like pay rent, like stuff like that. I'm not really thinking about like, oh, what's the next hit shoe, or like what's the next like creative projects like took a standstill, and like that's basically like what my mind was. That's where it was at in like the beginning of it. And yeah, I mean, like, I think it's been super hard for everyone. Like, I don't know how you've been dealing with it. Like, I feel like you might have a different kind of take to it.
I've again, for work, slowed down, I think, across the board for every
Yeah,
industry. Like you're talking April, May, June.
yeah,
And I really had to try to look for other creative outlets. To your point, I was also traveling a lot in 2019, for working personally, because that's where I get, like, traveling is like the greatest inspiration there is.
yeah, for sure.
I don't understand how somebody says different. But then I started like painting more. Then I started, making a little bit of clothing. I started this podcast during the quarantine.
That's dope.
So
Yeah.
like I had to be creative in new, different ways because like I thrive on learning something new.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I can't sit at home and watch Netflix for 6 hours.
Yeah. No, I can't do that. And it was like really hard for me to like sit still and like I'm always out there like trying to like I want to travel. I want to be able to like interact with people, and that's like how I thrive a little bit. And it's like I wasn't able to do that and fulfill that. I didn't mind a little Netflix once in a while, but like yeah, I mean, I think I like started playing music again more, and like that kind of helped me. Like I try to get back and like, oh, I can make beat. I had to make beats in a while, so I'm like, I'll start trying to make beats again and like get better at that.
Totally. So
Sorry,
do
you're
you
frozen.
if I ever needed a new beat, I could just reach out and you'll take care of it.
You're frozen. I can't hear
Oh,
you.
can you see me?
Is it me or?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just saying if I ever needed a new beat for the podcast, you got me.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, like, I'm not that good. I'm not like a producer, but like, I can cook up something, I guess.
Going back to like our current times, do you have specific goals that you want to accomplish this year in 2021 that you weren't able to accomplish in 2020 due to the pandemic?
I feel like it's like I just want to be able to like be consistent with like the creative output that I had.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't have lofty goals. Like I'm not trying to. I think I just want to take more ownership of like what I'm creating versus like I want to be able to come up with ideas more and like being able to implement it. And like figuring out how to do that. And that's basically it. Just coming up with more ideas. Like I feel like I was at a pretty much like a standstill last year and like pretty much blocked. So it's like I'm just trying to be more intentional with what I put out and like how I put it out and like what kind of things I'm representing. I feel like there's a whole like I feel like so much happened last year from like the Black Lives Matter protests to like all these things, and it's like makes you reconsider like what you consider makes you reconsider like your priorities and what you want to show and like I don't know. I think taking more into that account like so it's like formulating ideas and like how can I be more responsible and like more intentional about my work. I think yeah. Other than that, I mean like there's nothing concrete and there's nothing like I can tell you, but like just being more intentional about how I shoot, why I shoot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was the same way. Like I considered it like a great reset of like being stuck inside your four walls of your apartment or your home or wherever you are and looking around every single day at the same items. Like, what do you need? What do you
Yeah.
want? What don't you need and what don't you want? And then how do
Yeah.
you move forward from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I agree. It's a matter of, it's better perspective, in light of all the events that have happened of what's necessary. And I think a lot of people have been able to do that because they had more time.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, I mean, do you have anything else that you want to share with the people or advice that you want to give or anything like that? Otherwise, this has been tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's shoot your shot in the DMs. Just I'm just kidding, but no, I think just like I think the thing about me is like I'm pretty persistent and like I like to learn new things and like there's skill sets that you can develop and like I'm always like on my laptop like trying to learn things or like even if I'm not I'm trying to learn like get better at film photography rather than just digital and like video things like that and it's like just be persistent. I'm not coming from a place where I've like made it or anything. I'm just like I'm a persistent person I think generally and I think like like I just audit yourself and like audit your intentions. I've been trying to take care of my personal and mental health a little bit more this year. Seeing what triggers me and like seeing how I can like get past certain things or like take it in a different way and like just move forward. Keep pushing and I guess yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Where can people find you? Like, what are your tags?
I mean on Instagram I'm Ali Imam __. And then yeah, because it was taken. It's a common name. Or just like my website, aliimam.com.
Do
Yeah,
you about the website, like do you try to keep that up to date or as up to date as,
you're
because
breaking up again. I'm sorry.
oh, sorry about that. For your like website, or even your Instagram, I noticed that like you've kind of reformatted what content you actually have on your page recently.
Yeah, yeah. I just took everything down because I felt like I wasn't. I feel like Instagram and my website, like they have to be treated as more of a portfolio rather than something more personal. And I just felt like I need to reset everything, and start over a little bit. Because I don't think my Instagram was like very it showcased that I'm a photographer like as well as I thought it did. So I'm just restarting. Like I have old pictures I'm gonna recycle and video. But I'm just gonna start putting that content on, and like definitely did impact how I looked at it.
Well, hopefully our listeners go check out your page, follow him along 2021 with the new content, with the new perspective. And obviously go check out Staple. They do tremendous work. They got to represent the hat. So thanks for joining us on episode 27 of An Untold Narrative. It was really good to sit down and talk to you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it was nice talking to you as well.